in our region, in Baltic states and in Finland, Sweden, Norway, there are a lot of race tracks which are built to the ice, to the frozen lakes. And yeah, we have drift competitions, training days. I mean, it's a really cheap sport, to be honest. All you need is a rear-wheel drive Beamer. We have mostly Beamers over there, not Nissans, unfortunately. So yeah, basically all you need is like a rear-wheel drive car, a welded diff under it, and you can go sideways, handbrake maybe, and that's it.
Welcome back to the Torque Motorsport Show, bringing you behind the scenes and under the hood of motorsports and video games. I'm your host, Billy, joined with Arran, usual.
How are we?
And from Estonia, we got Tarmo.
Hey guys.
Welcome. You're going to have to help me out pronouncing your last name.
It's Tarmo Liivamagi.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just say Tarmo. It's way easier. It's some kind of Northern European name, so it doesn't make sense for you.
Yeah.
And Tarmo's wearing all the gear, so he's from...
yeah, you can see. I'm
from Wisefab?
I'm from Wisefab, so I'm a head of sales and marketing at Wisefab. So my job is to make sure that our brand is represented as it should be by all the drivers, by all the dealers. Yeah, basically, that's my job, to make sure that the sales are high and things are going the right direction.
That's super cool. Is this the first time you've been in a game studio?
It is. It's also my first time to be in Australia.
Ah, awesome.
So yeah, things just happened and escalated. So I'm super happy to be here.
What are you doing here? It's just kind of a general trip around to suppliers?
It's so and so. I do have quite a few dealers here in Australia, in different areas. So I have one in Adelaide, one in Melbourne, one in Sydney, a few more. So yeah, just visiting them. And at the end of this week, there is a drift competition in Calder Park.
Yeah,
so
keep it right.
Yeah. So I'm going there as well. So I'm always keen to see the competition or how these things are held in different countries, different markets, to see how big the sport is or how small it is or how the car look like. So I mean, it's and it's also very interesting from personal perspective, as I do charge drift events all over the world as well. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I really hope to see the event. I have seen already a lot of different drift cars and different garages, a few more to go. So yeah, I'm happy.
Jason puts on an awesome show at Keep It Right, so it's good that you're able to get to see one. So he's built that up in the past.
It feels
three
like
or 4 years.
It's like half a year. It feels like it's been so fast.
Yeah, no, the COVID was through the middle of it, but I remember going to one of his early kind of events, and now he really puts it on now. So there's music and
wearing a jumper at lunch the other day. A Keep It Right jumper.
Keep It Right.
Like that's so cool. Like someone doing drifting. Yeah, well, excited for you to go.
Oh yeah,
cool.
So let's see
do you actually drift yourself?
I used to. To be honest, not too much these days, but I do winter drift as I'm from northern side of Europe.
Snow drifting? Yeah,
it's basically what we do is as we have a real deal winter with a lot of snow and frozen lakes and everything. So there will be, I mean, in our region, in Baltic states and in Finland, Sweden, Norway, there are a lot of race tracks which are built to the ice, to the frozen lakes. And yeah, we have drift competitions, training days. I mean, it's a really cheap sport, to be honest. All you need is a rear-wheel drive Beamer. We have mostly Beamers over there, not Nissans, unfortunately. So yeah, basically all you need is like a rear-wheel drive car, a welded diff under it, and you can go sideways, handbrake maybe, and that's it. So I still do that, but yeah, like I started my drifting career back in 2009. I drifted myself till 2015 or 16. I don't remember. Most likely it was 15. But at that time I was working in a different company. My second child was born, so I decided that drifting kind of takes too much time, and I decided to end up my drifting career. But I have been related to this sport all the time, and as I said, I'm charging events. I have been a commentator for different events, etc. So yeah, I have been in drifting for 15 years, I would say.
How did you get into the sport in the first place?
That's actually a really good question, because the sport in our region, it's not too old. It's like 15 years altogether, maximum. I would say that like drift events have been around for 13 years. At the beginning, there were like no official events or anything, just like some kind of drag race event where was a bigger parking lot next to, so people made some things over there. But for me, I started to look drifting videos on YouTube. Even that at that time there was a YouTube, and Japanese ones obviously. And for me, it was like really interesting. I have been into cars all my life. I have studied as a car mechanic and in university as a mechanical engineer, so I have that kind of background. But I didn't have any real racing background from childhood or anything. But yeah, in one point, 2005, 6, 7, I got interested in those drift videos. It was super awesome to see. And in one point I noticed that, wow, guys are doing the same thing in our region now. And obviously I jumped in without having any friends over there. I basically went to one of the pre-season meetings for drivers. Just said, hello, I'm Tarmo. I'm interested in drifting. Can I join you? They were like, oh, yeah, whatever, take a seat. Everything escalated from there, and now I'm here sitting with you. So that's the background. But yeah, I mean, just those videos and everything, and it escalated pretty quickly. And yeah, I've been traveling around the world for drifting for quite some time, more than 10 years.
So you were like an OG drifter in Estonia?
I wouldn't say so. I would say like there were some guys before me. I was like jumping in when they have doing it already for a few years. So I wouldn't say, I'm a humble guy, so I wouldn't say that I'm OG. But I mean, yeah, for drifters nowadays, in our region, they should recognize my face for sure, for different reasons.
That's super cool.
Well, we're pretty excited to have Wisefab in the game. So tell us a bit about Wisefab and like the angle kits. You guys are at the pinnacle of that, of that scene. So yeah, tell us a bit about
All right. Let's go back to the roots. First of all, because most people, well, where I'm coming from, because we have been in touch previously, but most people don't know where the company originates actually. So just to clarify things up, we are from a tiny country called Estonia, which is one of the Baltic states. Baltic states are Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, former Soviet Union countries next to the Finland, Sweden, Russia. So we are part of European Union, we are part of NATO, just to clarify, and we're producing all parts over there. So basically we have 1.3 million people living in Estonia, speaking Estonian language, which is spoken by 1 million people in total, a tiny country. And yeah, Wisefab is originating from there. We have our office there, we have our factory there, and that's it. So all the parts are coming from Europe. People often think that these are coming maybe from Asia, from America. Americans still now think that it's American company. I don't know, maybe they don't bother to understand things, but that's how it is. So basically that's the background. But yeah, Wisefab was established officially back in 2011. Actually, they started in 2010. Two guys started this company as the founders. One was totally into drifting. His name is Ardo. And he managed to convince his friend Risto, who is our lead engineer, to jump on board, because Ardo had a vision that we could do something like this, something super awesome. We started obviously on BMWs. It was the most common car to drift. It's still one of the most common cars to drift in Europe. So yeah, Ardo thought that it's a good idea to make a lock kit for that kind of car. He convinced Risto to make a design and to do something for drifting, and yeah, it just escalated from there. Already like in 2013, the first lock kits were FT legal. Michael Essa managed to win the championship in FT. It was first year when our parts were in competition in FT, and in 2013, yeah, Michael Essa managed to win the championship. So it totally escalated from there. So it was like a tiny garage with 3-4 guys in it. Now we're still tiny, but we do have close to 30 workers and a pretty awesome production area, as we do produce at least 95% of everything in-house. So basically...
Wow, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason for that, we could obviously do it less expensively when doing it somewhere in Asia or outsourcing things, maybe. But as these are the racing parts, we just want to make sure that the quality is as high as it can be. And if something goes wrong, then we have like a total control over the warehouse, the production itself, so we can really quickly figure out what went wrong, which parts are affected, which are not, etc. So yeah, basically we have all the laser cutting, bending machinery, milling machines, turning machines, all kind of CNC machinery. The only things what we don't do is powder coating and galvanizing. But we have partners basically around the corner, so it just didn't make sense to deal with that as well. And yeah, everything is blue, so our partners are having tons of blue powder.
Such a good marketing decision.
So yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I wasn't there when the color was picked. Some are saying that it's kind of not the most beautiful color, but I would say that at least it's recognizable.
Definitely recognizable. Yeah.
And that's a good thing. People are not often, but quite often they're asking like, can you do it like a custom color? We usually don't do it. If it's like something very important, Adam LZ, for example. So then we can do it then we can do it like in different color. But usually we don't do it. I mean, people can repaint those things or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of like our trademark. I'm wearing black right now, but obviously I have a blue outfit as well for events and so on. But yeah, I mean, that's the background. So we are from a tiny country called Estonia. We're producing everything in-house. Sales-wise, I would say that we are selling approximately 50% to Europe, approximately 40% to US, and yeah, the rest, 10% to Australia, New Zealand, and Japan.
That's an amazing story. No, good stuff. I think it's incredible to see. Like, it sounds like did you guys take any investment, or were you bootstrapped it? They just built it up from
nothing at all. The thing is that nowadays the company is owned just by one guy, by our lead engineer Risto. Ardo decided to leave from the company, I don't know, five years ago approximately. Yeah, he just got tired of it, I guess. I don't know actually. And yeah, at that point I jumped in. And yeah, since then I have been responsible for sales and marketing and holding this part of company together.
Great.
And we do have a small office also in US, dedicated salesperson, and a warehouse. So this is like a 40% of our turnover coming from US. So we have to make sure that people are getting their stuff ASAP as quickly as possible, because to be honest, most racers are ordering their parts like 2 days before the competition, hoping to install it and test it before the competition.
That doesn't sound right.
I mean, at the beginning I thought it's only in drifting like this, but no, in real life it's the same in different disciplines. I mean, I'm not talking about the F1 or WRC rally or that kind of stuff, but when it comes to any other, let's say, widely known disciplines, racing disciplines, then it's basically the same all over. So yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, we're doing our best. We have been growing a lot. To be honest, I was personally super surprised to see our growth through the COVID period. But when looking back, I kind of understand it, because people had a lot of time to spend at home. I mean, just average drifter. He's dreaming about things. He maybe has money to do it, or he has, collected something, but usually they don't have time. But COVID kind of changed this, as people had to stay home in different countries. I mean, you should know it pretty well. Here in Australia,
the most lockdown.
Yeah, you had the most lockdown situation, I would say. So yeah, people had time to build their cars, and I was happy to see that actually the business, it went down for a short period, but after that it kicked off. So we were struggling quite a bit to get all the raw material and stuff, because all the steel comes from Sweden and from Germany, and the factories were closed. But we managed to do it, and I mean, yeah, as I said, we could do the parts, let's say, relatively cheaper somewhere, outsourcing things. But at that point during the COVID, we were super lucky to have everything in-house, because we had a control over what we were doing. Like, I know that some factories all over the world haven't recovered from COVID situation till now, because they still have some issues with outsourced parts,
some supply chains and stuff.
Chains and stuff.
Sure.
So we have a short supply chain, and it worked out for us.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of pretty much everything in house as well.
Yeah, it's just we have a similar attitude and approach to it. It just I don't know, outsourcing has never really worked for us. Like we've tried it in the past, and just the delays, any kind of savings that you might get are lost up in management fees and
quality
and quality control, and it just never really makes sense. Plus, it's really cool having a studio with all the staff here, and we can interact with them, and you know, I mean, everyone come together. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's just a bit lost if it's outsourced.
And you have to be. I have to admit, you have super awesome office here. So I mean, it's a nice place to work for sure.
We actually some of the viewers might not know, we have 2 buildings that are next to each other. We haven't knocked out walls yet, so you have to walk down multiple flights of steps and go back up. It gets a little bit annoying, and everyone complains, but you definitely get a lot more fit in this building. So no, it's a cool
Tarmo
place.
The BRZ.
Oh yeah, cool.
And its origins as a show car, and now it's a show car just in a different scene.
And I love it the way it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
it looks
dints
like
and all. I love
car.
it.
I mean, has it scratches and dints and everything. So
the best stories, you know, going out and breaking something, and
a lot of those dints aren't even mine. Though. It's like I can't even claim them. You know.
Yeah. I imagine the first parts, the angle kits that you've made, and now like very different, right? The R&D between the first and your like top of the line angle kits that are being ran in, you know, Michael's cars.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, over the years we have gathered quite a bit of knowledge in different areas. One thing is about kinematics, drivability, what is actually necessary, what drivers prefer, what we can do better, what we can't. Another thing is about the production itself, how the parts are made, what materials we're using, and so on. But yeah, I mean, our engineers, we have 4 engineers working for us daily basis, designing all these things. So they all have automotive background. And yeah, our owner, Risto, he's also teaching automotive suspension and also in university for young people. So he has been in this way before Wisefab. So he used to be a race engineer in United States. He have been working here in Australia as well. So he has like a pretty big background in it. But yeah, it has developed a lot. I mean, at first parts were made, they were simple, they were kind of plain, made from steel. Then we slightly moved to aluminum a lot. Now we're slightly moving back to steel for different reasons. It's actually durability. You can, I mean, if it's like a steel part, you're crushing the drift car, you can smash it with your hammer, you can weld something to it. But if it's made from aluminum, it breaks. All you can do is just replace it. I mean, I'm not against selling new shiny aluminum over control arm, not at all. But first of all, it's expensive for the customer. Another thing is that you just can't fix it in 5 minutes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But we still have shiny aluminum parts as well, because we don't do only drift car parts, what people often think. We do also quite a bit for grip racing, for time attack cars, etc. So we have something for Mitsubishi Evolution. For example, GT86 can be on the circuit as well. Honda S2000 is very popular in the United States. For those cars, we have black color parts, not blue ones. Just grip racers. They're happy to hide their suspension parts from competitors. So it's better if nobody notices anything blue. Because when it comes to drifting, it's super easy. I'm walking around, I'm sneaking under the car, I can see the blue part and I know what it is. Or I can see any other color and then know where it comes.
So I wonder what that's from. Like,
I mean, in general, I would say that drifting is totally different compared to most other disciplines when it comes to what happens in paddocks. Thing is that drifters are always helping each other, even on the highest level competition. Let's say like just one example from a few years ago when Latvian driver Kristaps Plus was still driving in FD. Has an issue with the car. His car was on the checks. Everybody were helping. Like Chris Fortes were there, snapping off some bumper and stuff. People handed all the tools. You know, everybody were working together to get this car fixed in 5 minutes. Unfortunately, they were still missing like 15 seconds, and they didn't manage it at that time. But everybody had hands on deck to fix this car. If someone needs a clutch, they will find it from the paddock. In most other racing disciplines, it's totally opposite. It's like, if something goes wrong with your competitor, people are super happy. Oh, something is wrong there. All right, one competitor less in competition. But yeah, drifting is totally different, and that's I'm really admiring when it comes to drifting. But yeah, let's say in grip racing, people are not only in grip racing, but also in rally, they don't want to show you what they have there or what setup they have. Drifters are always discussing like, oh, I have done it like this. I have like some kind of toe in, toe out, whatever is my preferences. They're discussing all these things. In other disciplines, they don't do it so much because for them, in drifting, the main idea is as it's like a battle between you guys. So the most important thing is to have a really good looking battle. No one wants to win the event or the championship by not having a competition because of some kind of technical failure. Because you will get the championship, but it's not that kind of taste you are looking for. Because like if everything is decided with a final battle and you can beat another guy in real competition, that's the best thing. So as you know, drift is not about the seconds or anything like that. It's just how it looks.
Yeah. And the reality is like you need a good lead to have a good chase. So that's the main thing nowadays. I mean, as being a judge for different drift events, I would say the same, that the lead, even if we're judging drift events wherever it happens, then the lead run is kind of more important even than the chase one. Let's say if you have like a really good lead, a really good chase, then the lead run pays more, kind of. Just because, you have to do it close to the perfect qualification line to get the highest points. Because you have to offer the chance for the chase car to chase you. If you're fooling around in a lead, it's really hard to chase you down, and the chase car doesn't know what to expect. So if the competition level is high, whatever it is, like a D1 GP in Japan or FT obviously, or Drift Masters in Europe, then the level of the skill what they have there is so high that they have to be ready to drive the perfect qualification line. That's how it is. I want to make sure I don't skip over this. So the only two people that can change the color of Wisefab parts is Adam LZ and Grip Racers. Is that right?
He's asking.
There are actually third guys as well.
Yeah.
Those are rally guys.
Rally guys.
The thing is that Wisefab is known for blue because it's drifting, and we do like 90% of our turnover comes from drift parts. Then there are Grip Racers. Those have like black parts, black kits. And then we also do some rally stuff. And rally stuff is in silver. So actually blue, black, and silver basically put together Estonian national flag, which is blue, black, and white.
Yeah.
Just white parts were, there were some other, let's say, competitors out there doing white parts. So we decided, okay, let's do it in different color. But, just to make difference between different disciplines. But to be honest, grip racing stuff and rally stuff, we do these things, but that's not the main task, to be honest.
I think Billy was asking because we want some yellow ones for our
we can
build.
figure out something. Well, by the way, we made yellow / blue kit almost few years ago for our Ukrainian dealer, who used to be one of the absolutely best dealers back in 2021. And we decided to make him as a gift that kind of special kit, as he's a drifter by himself, Dimitri Lyuk. Regards to you, my friend. So we made a special kit in his national colors, and we didn't manage to give it to him because the war in Europe, or let's say the war in Ukraine, started just a month after we finished this kit. So it's still in our office, but it's like a symbol, and I hope that in one day I can give it over to him. So usually we don't do that kind of colors, but on special occasions it can be done.
I got a bit of a story that it's interesting that you were talking about how drifters help each other out. I remember, and we're talking about Kristaps. I remember George K let Kristaps drive his car, like enter in competition, like helping someone out and fixing their car or give them parts or tools or whatever. That's super supportive. But letting someone actually go out there and rip in your car is crazy. And I thought huge shout out to George because he's a friend of ours as well.
Yeah, of course he is, and mine as well. And George K is a really good way how to say his name because I'm not able to pronounce his last name.
His last name, forget it.
That's how it is. So I mean, there are some rules about it. You can do it in certain cases, like if you. I'm not so sure about FT, but in general, the rule says that the car that you're entering into qualification should be the same car that you're using in competition. So you can't change the car after qualification even if something happens with it. But yeah, let's say something happens in practice, and if there is a car around you can grab, then theoretically you can do it. And yeah, it has happened in several cases, also in FD. And I mean, yeah, that's a good example how drifters are acting. Obviously, there is some competition, and I mean, people are there is quite a bit of drama sometimes. You know, people are saying bad words, etc. But I mean, it's a competition.
Yeah.
To be honest, 95% of all these drivers, those are like alpha males, kind of like they're like a real men there for competition. So obviously there will be some argument between them. But I mean, I'm super happy to see that everybody are, at least like most of people are helping each other, trying to find some solutions. So basically, if you break, I mean, like for example, just an example from Europe. FD happens in US, obviously in different states all over the US. But in Europe, things are a little bit more complicated. Let's say in Drift Masters series, we have, I don't know, this year like 6 stages maybe. I don't remember how many. All of these are in different countries. The only English-speaking country is Ireland, where it happens. Then we have like in Sweden, we have in Finland, we have in Latvia, we have in Germany, we have in Poland, and in Ireland. So it's 6 together. The thing is that if something breaks, you need quite a bit of help from someone to source something locally. So yeah, people are helping each other. Some local guys will always find a steering rack or subframe or whatever you need, because doing it by yourself, it might be a little bit complicated. I mean, maybe not so much in Northern Europe, but if you're getting to Southern Europe, let's say in Italy, finding a salvage yard guy who is savvy in English, it's pretty hard. So yeah, all kind of help is very, very important.
You say that, Arran, but I think you spend a lot of time watching other people rip in your cars, so I think you'd probably be that driver.
I'm not very happy about it, to be honest. I remember being in the car with Cliff. Also, he's one of our friends of ours. He does GAD. He abused the hell out of my car, like really violently. And I was in the passenger seat, and I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, one, I didn't know my car could take that much. And he drove it like really well. And here's the thing, he drove my car and he entered it in competitions for about 6 months, and nothing broke in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like it breaks when people don't know how to drive it, and he really pushed it. And like we've broken CV joints often. And that's because people are pulling the handbrake when the clutch isn't in or something. You know what I mean? So
that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we've broken it a lot. We've broken the diff ourselves. I think you broke the diff. I don't even recall.
I don't remember how that happened.
But yeah, no. So we've broken lots of parts. But he had it and he abused the hell of it and didn't break it. So I don't know.
To be honest, I have seen it quite a few times when, let's say, there is a driver having a decent car and always complaining that something is wrong with that. I have to redo this. I have to redo that. And then we had a situation where during the Baltic Drift Finals like a few years ago, the best driver in our region, he broke his car. It was like a super final, which was like a fun kind of event, and he borrowed a car from this guy who had a decent car, but he was always complaining that it's not up to task, this car. And this best driver out there, he did some miracles in this car. I mean, it was the best car actually. Like he was beating the hell out of this car, and nothing broke, as you said. So yeah, sometimes it's good to hand your car to someone who is really good in it, so you can see what is the actual potential of this car. Because often it happens that things are not so much about the car; it's more about driving skill. I would say there are like 3 kind of drifters around. There are guys who are, let's say, talented. They have a car which is okay, nothing too special, but they're focusing a lot on driving, and they can overcome, let's say, those difficulties or the small issues with the car. So basically, practice makes them up there. Then there are second kind of guys who are always fixing, changing the setup of the car. They don't never focus on driving. They are more like in garage. They're like mechanics. They like to build their car, and occasionally they're driving during the competition. They don't have any practice between the competition, and they're not too good just because they don't have enough seat time. And then there are a third kind of guys who are like let's say, like a James Dean, for example.
I was just going to say, then there's a James, a god.
Who does both, who is best in both worlds. Yeah. So he practices a lot. He's super talented, and he knows everything about mechanics, suspension, etc. So he's mixing all these things together, and that makes him perfect, kind of.
And he's humble, which is like...
He's humble, and he gets in any car and drives it amazingly. Like, I've seen, like, in Europe, he was drifting all these random cars, and now he's drifting in a Mustang, and, like, he just can just drive anything. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, he's James Dean, to be honest. I mean, he's my good friend, and we have been working with him for basically from the very beginning when we started to do anything for Nissans. And he has our kits on different chassis, like obviously on his H chassis. On BMW, he has E92 Eurofighter by AGK. He has RX-7, which he will be rebuilding, I guess, this year. So, yeah, he has our kits on all these cars.
Yep.
But, yeah, as you said, he's a humble guy. He's really, really good. So, I mean, I'm super happy to see that kind of talent around. And, yeah, when it comes to Mustang, then I'm pretty sure this year he will be on a podium. Hopefully he will win some events. I mean, he's not on Wisefab at the moment. I totally understand that. RTR has their own stuff, and I mean, it's a new car for James and a new program from James. But I mean, knowing his talent and how much he can work and how much he wants to work on this, I'm pretty sure he gets comfortable in this car really shortly. So the next event in Atlanta comes up next week, I believe. So let's see how it goes. But obviously, he has tons of potential. And he has a great team behind. So
yeah, it's going to be super exciting. So good seeing him back. And I think everyone lost their minds when that was announced. It's like...
Maybe not everybody. Because, there is... I mean, maybe not everybody just because, you know, some people know things a little bit advanced than others do. But, in general, I mean, it's really good news. I'm really, really happy to see James back in FD. And I think... I'm not so sure. I can't speak for James, but I believe that he has maybe he's like even more interested in what he's doing because he has so many new things around, like a new team, new car, a lot. You know, he can develop as a driver because like he has been in a chassis for a really long time, and he can do the absolutely best in this chassis. But once again, I'm not talking as a James at the moment, but I'm just wondering what he might think. Being in a different chassis, pushing yourself forward to adapt to this new chassis, to adapt to new team and everything, it should be pretty interesting for him, like a 3-time champion in a row. I don't think that things are getting boring for him, but I'm pretty sure they are more interesting right now than they used to be, maybe. Yeah. But once again, I'm not talking as a James here, so it's just some bollocks. Sorry.
How do you think that the events will develop over time? Because we've got, Drift Masters, it's huge. We've got Formula Drifts. Yeah, they seem to be developing in, the same direction, but in different ways. And for the drivers too, we've got, Team RTR, multiple drivers, kind of big team, big kind of event. And we've still got the smaller, drivers coming in with their own programs. Do you think that it's going to still be approachable for those kind of, one team or 2-3 team drivers coming into FD or Drift Masters?
Well, that's a good question. I have been following drifting for 15 years or so. I would say there has been big teams previously, then those have been replaced with the smaller teams, and big teams are coming back. So it's kind of changing all the time. Right now, we can see some bigger teams developed. Let's say Odie, our good friend, he has been in FD for a long time. He used to be under Falcon. Now he has his own team. Last year, he was running 2 cars. Now he's running 3 cars. 3 cars are already pretty big team. I know the background, so basically he has to put a lot of effort into it. It's not like he's not like hiring 25 people, 3 big rigs or anything. I mean, he has a smaller team in reality, but like running a 3-car team, that's a pretty big task no matter how big your team is. I hope, let's talk about FD at the moment. I really hope that there is still some room for, let's say, grassroots guys coming over from ProSpec without like a huge budget. ProSpec nowadays has some rules to make it relatively less expensive than it used to be. You know, like everybody have to run the same thing, you know, some technical rules and stuff. Let's say how it goes in the future. But yeah, in pro, jumping into pro, it's pretty expensive compared to ProSpec even, just because of the amount of events what you have, and you need to have a bigger team, a lot of logistics and everything. But growing big teams, I would say 2 up to 3 cars, that's okay. If it's more, then it's kind of awkward already, because it should be like a competition between, I really like that it's a competition between tire manufacturers, car manufacturers, which is kind of weird because I mean there are not too many of those, but in general, like between teams and everything. So that's very interesting. I hope it stays like this. Having just guys on their own, it's very complicated, especially because of transportation and other things. I mean, different guys teaming up, it's mostly just because it makes things less expensive. That's the main thing. But yeah, in Europe, everybody are basically on their own. There are not such things as big teams, maybe 2 cars, like in Drift Masters. We have Red Bull Drift Brothers from Germany. They are in one team. Then we have another brothers from Sweden. They are as one team. Maybe someone who I forgot at the moment. But other than that, that's a little bit different. Also, the main difference in Europe compared to US is that most guys don't have like a big name sponsor. So basically they're driving for their own money or their own company or their brother's company or whatever. So there is no such thing like tire companies in this business. Well, there are maybe few, but mostly people are buying their tires maybe just with a tiny discount and that's it. So it's a slightly different in Europe. But in general, I hope it stays so that there are teams with 2 up to 3 cars in pro. What I'm really, really hoping is that the ProSpec level is getting higher. What I mean by that is that ProSpec guys are always super happy that, oh, I managed to get a license to pro. I'm now jumping to pro. Tarmo, I have a super good news for you. I'm jumping to pro now. Yeah. For me, sorry guys, sometimes it's not a good news, because being, let's say, top 8 guy in ProSpec means that if you're jumping to pro in FT, you're lower top 16. Yeah. So, and the downside even in pro FD is that the higher top 16 is pretty good. Let's say 8 out of these 16 guys are able to get the championship. The lower top 16 is quite different. Just even if you have like a 32 drivers, the skill what they have is pretty different. So let's say if you are in bottom 16, it's pretty good if you manage to get, let's say, once, maybe twice in a year to top 8 by result. So that's a downside, what I kind of don't like. When it comes to Europe, then it's so competitive that, let's say, in Drift Masters, I'm not so sure this year they have less drivers in, but we used to have like a 60 who are participating every event. The difference is that not everybody are coming to every event. We have like a wild cards for local guys as well. But let's say you have like a 60 guys. You can imagine only 32 are getting to real competition. So you can qualify with 81 points and you still don't get into top 32. And if you're getting to top 32, then basically, even if you're getting there with a 31st result, then this guy has a chance to win. Let's say if he's like a local hero, he knows the track and everything. So let's say the competitors' level in Europe, let's say especially in Drift Masters, is kind of more equal to each other than it is in FD. I don't want to say anything bad about FD, obviously. I mean, that's the best series, in my opinion. I mean, like a real series. But yeah, it could be like more equal, then it's more interesting to watch. Because as I said, basically, I can point out 8 guys who might be the one who will get the championship in 2023. And I'm pretty sure that one of those 8 guys will do it. No one out from this top 8. I'm not saying it because I think that I'm so savvy in it, but I mean, it just makes sense. That's how it is. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be a world competition one day? Like, I know getting cars around the planet is extremely difficult, but I just see like there's so much going on in Europe, and obviously you got Japan, and even running through Asia as well. And there's some competitions in Australia, very small time, and New Zealand. So there's a lot of good talent out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There is a lot of talent around the world. Thing about drifting is that it's my personal opinion, and maybe someone will be unhappy if I'm saying it out loud, but basically, drifting wasn't a thing for FIA for a long, long time. They thought it's some kind of stupid show that people are doing. So drifting was growing a lot, and all the series were privately owned. In different areas, the rules were slightly different, but at the same time the same. Most rules are close to FT rules nowadays. So basically, we have FD in US, we have Drift Masters in Europe, we have D1 GP in Japan, we have D1 New Zealand, we have high-tech series in Australia. All these are privately owned. I'm not so sure how much they are connected to FIA. I know that European drivers have FIA license, and Drift Master is slightly working with FIA, but not too much. In one day, FIA noticed that there is quite a bit of potential in it because people are really interested in it. There are a lot of spectators, there is some decent amount of money. So they wanted to jump in. But for that time, being in 10 years in competition already, those, let's say, private series, they were not so much interested anymore to gather all together, getting under the wing of FIA, who will tell you how the rules are and what you can do and what you can't do. So I would say that things didn't went to this direction as FIA was hoping for. Maybe it happens in the future. There is obviously like FIA motorsport world games and that kind of stuff that happens, and also some drift competition, which is kind of like a world championship, but it's not actually a world championship. I mean, like a few years ago, we had an event like this in Latvia. I know pretty well the lady who is secretary at the FIA Drift Board. And I mean, it was super duper awesome competition, but we didn't have any participants from US, New Zealand, Australia. We had Japan, we had Taigo Saito, but he was driving his car, which he used to use at Russian Drift Series at the time. So it was kind of close to get it there. So we had some awesome international drivers, but nothing super international. There used to be some events. I would say I really would like to see something like that in the future. I believe if it can happen, then only in Middle East, because they have quite a bit of budget and they can bring together different series. But it's really, really hard to say what kind of competition it will be, because getting all the cars around the world to the same spot, that's the most complicated task. And driving someone else's car, that's not the best option, because, everything can happen. I mean, those might be like really good cars, but it's not your own car. So how quickly you can adapt, how the car holds together, you don't know all that. So I kind of doubt that it happens in the near future, just because that's not so much united. But we have like a few really, really good and strong series around the world. People are often saying that, those series are nowadays too high end. As we were talking like a little bit earlier, that it will be really hard to jump in for the grassroots guys or prospect guys to pro level because it's so expensive. I do understand that. And I'm sorry that it is as it is. But at the same time, it's good to have one or two series which are absolutely top-notch. It means that you have the best drivers, you have money around, you have teams around and everything. It's basically like Formula One. It's not for everybody. You have to be the best, or you have to have the money and you have to still be the best to compete with those guys. So this is like the highest level. That's like F1 is often, and WRC, these are often used for product development. It's the same for us. We are developing products together with those top-notch drivers in the highest level series where they have the best tires, fastest cars, everything. So we can develop together with these guys product for other guys who are maybe a little bit lower. So imagine no one can jump into FD with home-built car. Or Formula One, for example. It's kind of the same nowadays in high-level drifting. It's kind of pity, but I mean, there are some steps what you can do to still get there. And I'm really happy to see that this store is still open, that it's not closed only for the budget. It's something that you have to put together. And I mean, if you have talent like James Dean and some other guys around, you can gather the sponsors. James Dean he's not from rich family or anything, and there are other guys who are doing really, really well, and they have built their life around drifting, and they're recognized. They have the sponsors and everything. So I mean, that's like something to admire for sure, for also like upcoming drifters.
Yeah, it's like a balance, right? There's all these pros to growth, and in a sport, you know, brings more people. There's more kind of money to support people, but then the other side is obviously more leaning towards F1, where it's more gated. You can't just rock up and give it a try.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm always open-minded. I really hope to have some new faces in this sport, and I'm happy to. It sounds weird, but I'm happy to see that the next generation has jumped in, no matter is it like a Formula Drift or is it like a Drift Masters. Like, there are newcomers, OGs are getting away just because they have been. I mean, I'm just thinking how you can be motivated being in this for 20 years, doing the same thing. I'm really admiring these guys. They can still find the motivation to do it. I mean, obviously it's their life and that's what they're doing as a job. But I mean, I'm happy to see that there are some OGs in. I'm happy to see that there are a lot of new guys jumping in. So the sport still develops. That's very important. Otherwise, if it goes to this direction, like WRC, that you have 2.5 manufacturing teams in it, and you have like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but 8, maybe up to 10 factory drivers on the starting line, and the rest is just, you know, national champions, etc. Then it's kind of not anymore like a world championship thing. So I mean, I'm happy to see that drift is still developing, and I hope it keeps that way.
I'm keen to know, moving away from sport and you personally again, what did you think you were going to be doing like as a kid? Were you like, I can't imagine you'd be like, I really want to be the head of marketing for a, you know, high-end performance angle kit company for drifting.
No. My childhood was early childhood was back in Soviet time. So I'm born at 1981. Estonia got back its independence in 1992 when I was like 10, 11 years old. As a small kid, I wanted to be an astronaut for sure, firefighter, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I liked cars from early stage. I wasn't too good student in my early classes, so yeah. So I decided that I'm not going to high school. I'm going to, let's say, a school where you can learn some special skills. So I decided to become a car mechanic when I was like 16. So I went to study to become a mechanic, which was great because I understood in the first year that it's not for me, just because it was cold and wet in a garage. You have to fix the cars. Everything was rusty and dirty. And I understood that, okay, I like cars, but not so much. So that gave me some motivation to study way better in this school. So I managed to get to university to become a mechanical engineer. And that was way better. But yeah, I mean, I knew that I'm into cars basically when I was 15, 16, I guess, because yeah, I never had any doubt about it. I mean, and yeah, I used to work for different companies, but most of my career have been related to cars, to big trucks, to coaches, now to race cars, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's the background. So yeah, at first astronaut and firefighter, and then already something related to cars. But not to racing. I mean, racing came to my life when I was close to 30, to be honest. Before that, I never thought about competing or doing anything like that. I mean, I like to watch, obviously, all kind of different racing disciplines, but I was not related. Family-wise, I mean, yeah, my uncle had a car, my mother didn't. So yeah, basically, I didn't have that kind of connection before I went to study as a mechanic. I mean, it was good to study as a mechanic and to work short period as a mechanic. It gave me understanding of the cars, and it has been very, very useful later, also in university and after that. But yeah, that's the background.
most well-known angle kit company in the world, an astronaut, I think, same. I actually asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT knows that Wisefab is the most well-known.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the response.
I'm like,
Nice.
give me a list of the best angle kit companies in the world, and it tried to be really on the fence. Like, well, I can't give you a definitive list, but then it gave me a list, and Wisefab was on
That's
top.
what it does.
Have you used it?
Yeah, of course. Actually, I'm using it. I can't say that too often, but sometimes for a marketing text. The thing is that as I'm not the native speaker, so if I'm writing some kind of text for a product announcement or even for Instagram, then sometimes they're a little bit clumsy maybe, or they are just too straightforward. So I can just say to ChatGPT that rewrite it in a cool way, and then it rewrites it there are many ways how to rewrite it. Sometimes he's like over the top. It's like, yo, what's up, bro? This is a new announcement. Here is a new product.
You're like,
check this out with your wolf pack, all that kind of stuff. So it can go crazy. But I mean, sometimes it rewrites pretty well.
Yeah.
And I have done it also on our website, or actually me and my colleague, we have done it on our website, because just for Google search and SEO and all that kind of stuff, it's important that the text is not always the same. There has to be different kind of words in it. Otherwise, if it's like a copy paste in different listings with the same text, Google doesn't like it. So basically, you can tell to ChatGPT to rewrite it. It rewrites. You can obviously check it, because sometimes he replaces, for example, the word knuckle, which is the front upright, or the rear upright, with a fist. So I mean, you must read it. It's not so that you are just copy pasting all this. Yeah. It will be funny. But I would say it's a pretty useful tool. And let's see what the future brings. I'm a little bit worried about it as well, but let's see.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of worried about it, but then also like, I can make a poem.
Oh yeah, it makes all kind of songs and things and whatever you like. My older daughter is now 16. She's graduating this year, and I teach her how to use it. So now she's asking all the questions.
All the exams.
Her grades just went
but
up.
I mean, teachers are also up to task. They can figure out it pretty well what has been used or not.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes people lazy, but at the same time, it saves a lot of time. What I mean by that is, if you can ask a question like you did, tell me a story about Wisefab, you don't have to scroll around the internet for 30 minutes or maybe 1 hour. It just puts together everything for you in 1 minute, which is useful. But it makes people lazy. I mean,
it does.
Back in my when I was younger in university, we had to go to the library. We had everything on the paper. So basically, you had some kind of cards where you had to find the book, what you need. Then you had to go to the lady. She went looking for the book for 15 minutes. Then she came back and handed it to you. You couldn't take it home because there was only 2 books in a library. So you had to stay for 4 hours in the library to read it. So no one can understand this situation nowadays. If I'm explaining it to my kids, they're just asking, why didn't you Google? Or whatever. So, I mean, time is different for sure. But I think it's a really good tool and very useful. And I'm happy to hear that Wisefab is number 1 look.
Yeah.
I truly believe it by myself. We have to push hard to keep this situation or thing, because there are many competitors nowadays. There used to be only few, but now there are quite a few around, and we have to push ourselves to be up to task with everything, like development, products, customer support. But yeah, that's how it is.
That's super awesome. Pass it to you, Arran, because we have a question we ask not every, we've just started doing it, but.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you've got to go back in history. So what was your first car? Then what's your favorite car? And then what's your forever car?
Okay, first car. My first car was Ford Fiesta RX2, if I remember correctly. That was quite sporty version from 1991. I bought it when I went to university. That's a nice
first car.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was into cars at that time quite a bit, and when I went to university, I got some kind of educational loan or something that, to pay for your studies. But I managed to get to, how do you say it in English, to free spot. I mean, at the beginning when I went to university, I had to pay for getting education, but I was good enough to get to a position where I didn't have to pay anymore.
Sponsorship.
Yeah, let's say a sponsorship. Yeah. It's like a national sponsorship in Europe, but I got like a national sponsorship in 3 months or something. So I had this loan. I had nothing to do with it. Obviously, I bought a tiny sport car. So that was my first car. It was pretty fast and everything. A little bit used, obviously. So I had to rebuild the engine and do some stuff. But it was fast at the time. It was awesome.
So what's your favorite car?
Favorite car? Oh, that's a good question. I would say something that I haven't had. Otherwise, I'm getting bored with cars quite quickly, so I'm changing those a lot, to be honest. Building, finishing, selling, losing money, all over. That's what I do. But something that I would like to have, I would say Lotus Elise.
Yeah.
I actually, my friend in Sydney, Ben from Blowfish, I drove his Lotus recently, and it was crazy. It's such a raw experience that that it really kind of blew my mind. And here's an interesting fact: he took a Porsche out, and he said that the Lotus has almost ruined the Porsche. Do you know what I mean? Because he gets everything he wants out of that car. You know what I mean? It's so light and so sporty, and you basically, the engine's right there and stuff. So it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some kind of Lotus or something. I mean, I obviously like Porsches. I'm not so much into Ferraris or Lamborghinis or anything. I mean, these are not my cup of tea. But yeah, Porsche is okay. But yeah, Lotus. I'm pretty sure it's expensive to own, expensive to rebuild if something happens, whatever. But it's something cool to have, or some old school Alfa Romeo maybe.
Cool.
But yeah,
nice.
these are the cars I would be interested.
Love the old school Alfa, like a GT 2000 or something.
Oh, yeah. Something
awesome.
like that.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I mean.
And then your forever car. So a car that like you can have now that you would like to keep forever. You know what I mean?
You mean what I can't have now?
No, can have now. So like something that you could afford, or something that you just want to have in your garage and not sell it. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's a good question. It might be that kind of Lotus, for example. But something from Japan, I would say. I do have quite a few Japanese JDM cars, which are rather rare in our area. But
well, you've got to list them now. You can't.
No, I have. I mean, from your perspective, it's like a super boring car. I have a Nissan Stage here, which is obviously pimped up and lowered and freshly painted and everything on work wheels and etc. But I mean, for you, it's like a farmer's car, I believe. For us, it's the only Stage in Estonia, and most likely the only one in Baltics. But yeah, for you, it's different. But I wouldn't say that's a car I would like to keep. I would like, as investment, maybe I would like to have some old-fashioned 911 Porsche, something like that, because those are getting more and more expensive, and I really like Porsches as well, or my Lotus. Depends.
Awesome. So what do you think of the Emira, the Lotus Emira?
That's also a really cool car for sure. Would be interesting to have as well. But I mean, I'm into that kind of cars more that you can kind of use, or you're not worried too much to drive around. That's the thing. I mean, it's the same with drift cars. I used to have not many, but quite a few of those. I still have like my Matsuri car, and sometimes I'm trying to make those cars too beautiful.
Yeah,
and then I feel that I can't drift those because I mean, it's like
it's a first world problem right there.
Yeah. And luckily, if you crash it to the wall at first, then after that, the stress is all gone. You can go ahead without worrying anything about it. But yeah. I mean, I like these cars what you can actually drive around. I mean, nothing too fancy or anything.
I definitely know how you feel. Like the 180 SX before it was stolen. Whoever stole it out there, you jerk. It's becoming like they're becoming more rare. And I had like all the panels were straight. The dash didn't have any cracks in it. And I'm like, I got to a point where like I really don't want to dent this car or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm like. And the more I held it, the more it became more valuable, and the more I loved it. And then I'm like, I didn't want to rip it up. But like the BRZ, I it's got dints in it, and then I enjoy it a hell of a lot more. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah, there is like one car I'm keeping in the garage during the winter. I mean, the winter in our area, it's pretty cold. We have a lot of snow, and there is a salt on the roads to melt the snow. So, I mean, for a old-fashioned JDM car, like I have this Dacia C34, it doesn't like salty roads. So I'm holding this car in garage for the winter for sure. But I mean, yeah, it's good to have something that you don't have to worry too much. And I mean, I like drivable cars, even if it comes to collectible items or whatever. Then it should be something that you can drive around, and it's still like easy to drive. I can imagine like having a Lamborghini Murcielago or what. I mean, yeah, it's a cool car, but having it on the streets, it's a pain in the ass, kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. Agreed. What's going on in the world of Wisefab? You got any news coming up or anything you want to plug while we're
we have constant product development going on all the time. The biggest news, we came out actually with we call it version 3 lock kit for S chassis. I mean, S chassis, it's a standard drift car, obviously. We made a new kit which has a steering rack in front of the cross member instead of having it behind the cross member, which is like obvious spot, or let's say original location for the S chassis. It's just kind of different, makes things easier to handle. It's nothing too special. But otherwise, like a new products, what we have in the pipeline, we have Mustang S550 lock kit in the making. So it should be ready by the end of this year. It should be available for customers. We will start to test it later this summer in August or something. Let's see how it works out. That has quite a bit of potential, I would say. There are a few kits obviously around by other companies, but we did a Corvette kit like 1.5 years ago. I had kind of mixed feelings about it. Americans obviously had some interest in it, so we decided to go to this direction. But it has become like really, really popular. And I mean, both Corvette and Mustang, they are great cars. I mean, Corvette is more like a real deal sport car. Just the suspension is really simple. It has low gravity. Out from the box, it has pretty good engine. You can have manual gearbox. So basically, if you buy a Corvette C5 or C6, you will add some kind of angle kit to it. You can drift it already. Instead of buying a S chassis, which is really hard to find nowadays in US, it has like a 4-cylinder engine. You have to swap it out anyways, which is expensive, time-consuming, etc. So I mean, that's the thing. And the same thing about the Mustang. I mean, those are really popular in US. So I believe we have some potential over there. And yeah, we're working on different things like sway bars, coming up with some solutions. We do produce also axles, like half shafts, for drift cars, rally cars. This is actually a pretty big thing. People don't know much about it, but we are selling like really tons of those. We're making like 1,500 horsepower capable half shafts or axles. How you say here in Australia? Is it like half shaft or axle or drive shaft?
Drive shaft, axles, that's
all right, something like that. So anyways, we're making our own. Those are really, really strong, and these are also very popular ones. So we're trying to... We're trying to... Well, yeah. The thing is that over the years, we have tried different things. Like we tried to move more into grip racing, just because, drifting is kind of tiny compared to everything else around when it comes to racing. So we had a feeling that, moving to the grip racing, it has way more potential, maybe. Obviously it has, but we don't have background in grip racing. And grip racers have a huge background by themselves. What I mean by that is that it's really, really hard to explain to any kind of time attack guy that, this solution makes you faster because of this, that, third thing, which is all correct, and your car will be faster. But he will replay to you that, but we have done it like this for 20 years. And before that, my father did it like this for another 20 years. So we have done 40 years like this. Why should we change? So that's the main difference between drifters and, let's say, rally drivers and grip racers, that they have like a long heritage behind them. So they are not so open-minded for changes. However, drifters, on the other hand, they are totally different guys. They are like, I'm just saying that we have a new solution. Wisefab is a familiar name for them. Wisefab has a new solution. Obviously, I will test it, no questions. it works, and they're let's say they're open-minded. They are always there to test things. So yeah, we have tried to do more for grip racers. We are still doing stuff for them, but we don't pay too much attention to that, or let's say we don't spend too much time to develop new things for them. If it's necessary, we do, but that's not the main focus. So the main focus is still mostly on drift cars, but not so much on building something for new chassis, because basically I can't say that we have everything, or I can't say that we're covering all the chassis around, but I think we're covering most of the chassis that make sense to produce something for, because it doesn't make sense to produce something for, don't get me wrong, but for example, for a Cadillac. There are a few cars around, there are a few companies who are maybe making some semi-custom kit for those cars, but for us it has to make sense, because for us, building a kit from the scratch or designing the kit from the scratch will take at least 1 year before it's ready for production. Some other competitors are saying that, I can do it in 2 months. We can throw in some prototypes in 2 months, no question in it. But as we really don't want to add our sticker on the car, on the part before it's really ready, then we are taking some time to develop things as they should be done. I mean, starting from 3D scanning the car, measuring all the kinematics, building up the perfect kinematics for a drift kit, then trying to implement this perfect solution to real-life car. It's always a compromise. Then we're making the first prototypes to fit under the car. Then we will choose some drivers around the world who will test this prototype. Usually the testing period is at least half of the season, usually the full season in some high-level competition, to see how it works. Is it easy to work on? Does it hold together? Obviously, we'll make all kinds of simulations in computers. We have tons of different test benches, how to smash the control arms, knuckles, how to stress test all these things. So it takes a long time. Then if these things are coming, the prototypes are coming back, or we're getting a feedback from our drivers, test drivers, we will make some small changes, sometimes some bigger changes. Is it about the kinematics, or is it about some adjustments, or whatever is needed? Then we have to redo the design so that it makes sense to produce, because things have to be cost effective as well. It's not only like we can weld something together that takes like a half a day for a welding guy, but actually it has to be produced in decent amount per day. So we have to redo it again. And yeah, all this together takes like approximately 1 year. So it's not. Some people are saying it's pretty fast. Some others are saying why it takes a long time. So it depends from the perspective, to be honest. That's the thing. But yeah, we are more focusing actually. Not only on the new kits, which we still do, we are also like redeveloping those kits what we already have to make them better, and then we are trying to focus also on, let's say, new tasks for the same customers, like making the axles, which are really needed in drifting, strong ones, sway bars, some other things I can't talk right now about, Basically selling something to the same customer, because we would like to help them with as many parts as possible. I mean, they can source things from the same place. That's the thing.
Cool.
Because they recognize us, they trust us. I mean, when we started to sell the axles, we said these are the 1,500 horsepower axles by Wisefab. Drivers said, yeah, no question, I will buy those. So I mean, I'm not saying it's an easy task, because for us, the axles itself, it was like a 2-year development plus 1 year in testing. So basically, people started to get those axles 3 years after we started with this. So it's a lot of time, effort, and money that goes into development. And people often don't get it. They just think that parts are overpriced and we are rich fucks. Sorry, that's not correct, to be honest, because everything goes back to development and production. I mean, that's how it works.
Quality of the product.
Exactly.
Of course. Tarmo, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you in the game, and
I'm super excited to see how the Torque 2.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you excited to be in a game? Like, this is something different for Wisefab?
It is. I mean, yeah. Shortly, I mean, we have talked about the cars a lot, not too much about the game, because I'm not so much into games by myself, as I said. But I mean, in your case, things are a little bit different. In many ways. I mean, we have had some proposals from different game developers, maybe the perspective is slightly different, but I like that your game is kind of like a new age, how it works, NFT based and everything. So, I mean, that's something I'm really interested in. And I mean, we should be up to task when it comes to youngsters. And I mean,
yeah, for sure.
if there are a lot of young people, and maybe only not young people, but people in my age playing this game, then let's say there are like 100,000 gamers around. If like 1% of those would get into real drifting and they already recognize Wisefab as a brand, that's also a big thing. Yeah. Or if their friends are getting into drifting and those guys can say that, in this game, Wisefab is the best thing to use, or they recognize the brand, then it's a big thing for us. Because I mean, we have to focus also on upcoming drivers. That's very, very important. Not only focusing on winning competitions, which we have done for a decade, but we also have to focus a lot on young people to get them interested in drifting, to get them into the cars. And getting them into the cars through the game, I think it's like a really, really good opportunity. So,
well, we're super excited to have you on board. I think it's been great to meet you. Thanks for coming in, and we're all going to go out to lunch now, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to get you one of these bobbleheads and a jumper or something.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's a cool one.
Yeah,
right. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Limited supply.
Is this gift that I've been given from left stage?
All right.
So you have to open it now,
Does he open it now?
Okay, it's all right. You can open it later.
Okay, I will. It's so well packed, so it will take another 5 minutes to unpack it. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Tarmo.
Head to Instagram, YouTube, Wisefab.
Yeah,
you're everywhere on the internet.
It's pretty easy, and Instagram is the most active channel. Also, Facebook, not so much anymore, but YouTube as well. So
awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Check us out. Thank you.